Alright, call me crazy, but I generally believe we're about to see Dominick Reyes pull off another victory this year in 2025. Now listen, I get it. Some of you guys are rolling your eyes right now, saying Reyes, really? But hold on, if you guys haven't been living under a rock, you guys would actually know that he's riding a 2-fight win streak right now. And yeah, maybe the names aren't mind-blowing like Dustin Jacoby or Anthony Smith, but those were confident boosters. Stylistically, those were the kind of matchups Reyes needed to get his mojo back. Let's not forget where this dude was not too long ago. He was getting knocked out back to back. He was knocked out 3 times in a row. And by straight killers, Jan Blachowicz, Yuri Prohaska, and Ryan Spann. Like, that's a rough run for anyone. People were riding him away. He was this close from falling out of the rankings, and honestly, maybe even off the roster if he loses again. But what did he do? He reset, he refocused, and he came back. That Dustin Jacoby fight was ugly and gritty, and he showed that he still has it. Then he took down Anthony Smith, and he finished him. That's a great look, and it's a statement victory. He's back in the win column. He's building confidence, and now he's staring at a golden opportunity to fight Nikita Krylov with a shot to break into the top 5. Now, I know what some of y'all are thinking, bro, Reyes is washed. He's not the same, and maybe you're right. But man, don't act like we haven't seen this type of comeback story before. Remember Dan Hooker? That guy was on an L streak from hell after that loss with Dustin Poirier. People said he was done too, but look at him now. 3-fight win streak. Last win was a big one over Mateusz Gamrot, and that was a fight that most people thought Gamrot would just grind out, a victory. But Hooker showed up and won via unanimous decision. No one expected that. So why can't Reyes do the same thing? Because stylistically, I actually think Krylov gives Reyes some clean looks, especially early. Reyes is sharp when he's not under pressure. If he can time Krylov, Wild's entries, and time his distance, it's not out of the realm of possibility that we see a vintage finish. Now look, I'm not saying he's going to run through Krylov, but this is MMA. Comebacks happen every day. Reyes has the tools, and now he's starting to believe in himself again. If he can get this win, he's not just back, he's back in the mix. So let's really talk about why this fight is so interesting, because on one hand, Reyes has some tools that can absolutely give Krylov some problems in my opinion. But on the other hand, the thing that makes Krylov dangerous could also be a nightmare for Reyes. Krylov fights like a storm. He throws wild kicks, he mixes in takedowns, he throws spinning stuff, knees in the clinch. It's a chaotic style. He doesn't give guys time to settle. And honestly, that's the kind of pressure and randomness that could be too much for Reyes. Let's not act like Reyes has a granted chin. He's been knocked out cold multiple times. I mean, Jan flattened him, Yuri took his soul, Ryan Spann didn't even need a full round. The dude has been through some real damage, and even though he's gotten back in the win column, there's still a question mark around how much punishment he can actually take now. So if Krylov comes out the way that he usually does, pushing forward, throwing volume, consistently switching things up, Reyes might not have the durability to weather it. He doesn't do well when he's forced to fight moving backwards. And if Krylov overwhelms him early, then there's a real chance Reyes gets cracked again. But, and here's where it flips, that exact same chaos is a double-edged sword. Krylov's style isn't clean or calculated. It's messy. He throws himself off balance, he lunges into range, he overcommits on entries, and that's dangerous against a guy like Reyes who's built to capitalize on mistakes. When Reyes is confident, he's a sniper, long, accurate, and dangerous when you walk into his range without a plan. We've seen Krylov run into problems before because of that recklessness. Against Glover Teixeira, he kept diving in and got taken down with ease. Against Paul Craig, he dominated early but kept putting himself in bad positions and ended up getting submitted. That kind of recklessness works great until it doesn't. And Reyes is that type of guy who doesn't need many chances. If Krylov makes one move and gets time coming in, that could be the end of the fight right there. Alright, so let's shift over to the grappling side of this fight. Because yeah, Krylov's got legit tools there. He can wrestle, he's aggressive on top, and his submission game is always a threat. But in this particular matchup, that grappling might not be as dominant or reliable as people think. First off, Reyes is big, explosive, light heavyweight. He's not the easiest guy to keep down, even if you manage to ground him. He's quick to scramble, post, and get back to his feet. He's not the type to accept bottom position or let himself get stuck under you. He's athletic, he's long, and he makes you work for every bit of control time. Now, when you look at how Krylov shoots his entries, they aren't super polished or technical. He doesn't have that deep single leg chain wrestling style that normally wears guys down. He usually catches takedowns in chaos, like when an opponent is overextending or during the scramble. And while they can work, it also leaves a space and opportunity for an escape, especially against someone like Reyes who explodes out of bad positions. We saw some of that in his fight with Volkan Ozdemir. Krylov had to work really hard to get those takedowns, and even though he got them, it was clear that he had to rely more on timing and grit than pure technique. A guy like Reyes is going to make him work even harder, and that's the big question. Is that worth it? Now, here's the thing. I can sit here and say Krylov is known for gassing out because of his grappling. If anything, he's proven that he can go the distance with a high pace. That Ozdemir fight, he wrestled a lot, threw a ton of volume, and never looked tired. So cardio necessarily isn't the issue here. But even if he doesn't gas, the efficiency still matters. If he spends ton of energy on takedowns that don't lead to control time or damage, then there's time and output that Reyes can use to get back up, reset, and start landing from range. Just because Krylov can wrestle for 3 rounds doesn't mean it's the smartest path here, especially when those entries could open him up for counters or force him into sloppy scrambles when Reyes can capitalize. So yeah, the grappling is a tool that Krylov can use, no doubt about it. But against a guy like Reyes, who's physically hard to hold down and explosive enough to punish failed attempts, it's not some guaranteed ticket to win. It's still risky, and it still requires perfect execution. So yeah, I still believe Reyes has the tools to get this done. I stand by that. But I also want to be honest here because there are things about this fight that concern me. And I know I said earlier that the grappling might not be super effective against Reyes, and I still believe that to an extent. But that doesn't mean it can't become a problem if Reyes starts slowing down or if Krylov finds a rhythm with it. Krylov has multiple ways to win this fight. That's what makes him dangerous. He's unpredictable, he's chaotic, and he brings a pace that can be hard to deal with if you're not fully locked in. Reyes likes structure, he likes rhythm, clean exchanges, setups, and Krylov doesn't give you that. He just throws stuff at you non-stop from all angles. And even though I mentioned earlier that Krylov's wild entries could backfire, if he overwhelms Reyes early and doesn't give him a chance to settle, that chaos can start taking over. And yeah, I know I said that Reyes is explosive and hard to hold down, and he is, but there's always the possibility that Krylov sneaks in a takedown or drags him into a clinch heavy round, and it's more about grinding than damage. That's still time where Reyes isn't striking, isn't even getting reads, and might be stuck defending. Even if Reyes pops back up, Krylov could win rounds by just keeping the pressure or mixing things up. The chin is another factor that I cannot ignore. I said it earlier, Reyes has been knocked out before, and while I don't think that automatically means he's done, it's something that stays in the back of your mind. All it takes is one clean shot or an awkward exchange or one knee during a level change, and things can unravel quickly. Krylov might not have one-shot knockout power, but with the volume and variety that he throws, there's definitely danger there. And let's not forget, Krylov's just a tough, experienced guy. He's been there with killers, and he doesn't get rattled easy. If things get gritty, if it turns into a fight where you've got to dig deep, Krylov has to show that he can hang in there and keep pushing. So even if Reyes is still looking sharp early, Krylov is the type of guy who can make it ugly and start turning things around late. And look, man, that's just the thing. I hope this happens. Like, MMA gods, just give me this one, bro. I'm not asking for a title run. I'm not asking for a Cinderella story. I just want to see Dominick Reyes back in the top 5 in 2025. That alone would be a win. That alone would be a win in itself. Do I think he's going to be champion? Probably not. But would it be cool to see him work his way into that position again? Absolutely. Would it be cool to see him get one more big opportunity? Hell yeah. But at the end of the day, time's going to tell. This is one of those fights where we find out, does Dom still have that dog in him? You know the meme, the guy in the mirror asking himself, do I still have that dog in me? That's exactly where Reyes is right now. And let's not ignore the other side. Krylov has been inactive lately too. He hasn't fought in a while, so we don't really know what version of him we're going to get either. That makes it even more interesting, and it's a 3-rounder fight. The pace is going to be high. Krylov's going to come out aggressive, throwing everything but the kitchen sink. Reyes is still an athlete, he's explosive, he's got the tools, and he can fire back. But the real question is, can he put it all together when it counts?